Director of the CI Design. Our speakers are Tamer Nakışçı, designer of Nude, and Nicolas Bellevant-Lecomte, founder and art director of Carbon Gallery Beirut. And thank you for your participation.
Yeah, I don't need a microphone. Okay. Okay, thank you. Welcome. Thank you for coming. This is an interesting year this year for Contemporary. It's the first year that they have addressed design as art. And so we felt it would be very interesting to talk about, because there's a lot of confusion about design as art. And even the name, we have difficulty. Is it collectible design? Is it functional art? Is it art design? Even the name causes confusion. So I think it is really a growing trend in the world, and I believe that it hasn't been introduced to Turkey yet, and I think this will be an important platform this year, even though it's a small showing for the design area. I believe this will, hopefully from here we will grow, and it can create new opportunities for designers and artists. And I'm very happy to have today here with me two very important people. Pierre Giorgio hopefully will be joining us. I know he's in Istanbul. I'm hoping he didn't get the time mixed up with the time change, the time difference. First I will start with Nicolas Bellevant-Lecomte. And he is from Caravan Gallery in Beirut. He himself is born in Canada, and he studied in Venice and in Berlin. He studied architectural and visual art. He's worked with Thomas Deman and did many installations for the Venice Biennale, and also at the Museum of Modern Art. He's started then working on design projects in Milan on collectible design exhibitions. And then in 2010, he opened Caravan Gallery in Beirut when there was not a design gallery in Beirut. So he was very groundbreaking in this field. This was one of the first design galleries in the Middle East. And I can say personally, I've been following Nicolas's career, and he is one of the most revered curators in the world right now for collectible design. He's invited to shows such as, he is a guest at shows such as the Armory, Design Miami, recently other shows you can explain more in detail. And Tamer, I'm very happy to have with us, and there's a link between Tamer is an industrial designer. Yeah. He has Studio Nakışçı in Istanbul. He's had a very successful career, a very successful start. He won a competition for Nokia in, what year was that?
2005.
In 2005. And that's when Nokia was really big. So he was the first place winner for that. And then he was approached by somebody who was interested in having art as design, and he was introduced to Nicolas for an exhibition for Caravan Gallery. So there is a link here. So I guess today perhaps we can look at your presentations, and then we can begin to start to talk about collectible design and what is it.
Okay, so as I was saying, the idea of the gallery is called Karwan. It comes from old Farsi saying, meaning caravanserai, which was the meeting point in the region for various caravans to exchange goods and to trade, and also to discover new objects or new products from all over the world. And the idea was to take this name as Karwan to become definitely an idea of a new design encounter in the Middle East for both Western and Eastern cultures around design. Here you can see Pascal and myself, actually. Pascal is a Lebanese architect, and we founded together the gallery back in 2010 was the first year we started. And since then, after 6 years of activity, let's say we were very active, let's say globally, with more than 500 press publications, 16 exclusive commission collections of objects. We had more than 36, now we arrived to 38, because we had a few since I did this presentation, 38 curated international exhibitions. We have various international partners, such as museums, foundations, and institutions with whom we work. And we have also various exclusive representations all over the Middle East, and we've been ranked among the 10 top collectible design gallery in the world by an Australian committee, actually. The gallery started as a pop-up gallery, in the sense that we were constantly moving for every exhibition in different locations. Here you can see an old Ottoman-style house from Beirut, where we did an installation for an exhibition that was in 2014, actually. And here is a bit, let's say, a resume of the various exhibitions we did all over the world. From, let's say, the Milan Design Week, where we started more on the base of design, and we slowly enlarged, let's say, our scope of action, exhibiting in Hyères, at Villanois in France. Actually, it was the work of Taher, the first time we were presenting there at Villanois. Then we did also this exhibition in various art centers, such as the BAC, Beirut Art Center in Beirut. We did also in a show in Doha, in Qatar, and in Riyadh, in 2 museums, the fair during Art Dubai as well, dedicated to collectible design. And then Design Miami, and the list is quite long. Also during the London Design Week, the Catan Foundation were invited, and let's say it was a path where we were the first ones probably in the region to invest a lot in new commissions and to create special projects that were exclusive to the gallery at the same time, but also innovative in a way to create and generate new contents for the global scene at the same time. We will go, let's say, backwards. This is the last exhibition, one of the last exhibitions we had at the gallery from an Iranian designer / artist who we commissioned also all works which were handmade in Tehran and by the Turkic tribes a bit outside of the city, with hand wavings, mixing different techniques of lacing, open lace, and kilims also together in a quite impressive way, actually. Then at Miami last December, we had the works of Karen Chekerjan, who's a Lebanese designer that we launched actually internationally. She had also an exhibition at the Institut du Monde Arabe in Paris afterwards. It was all commissioned works as a research of how to approach design and conceptual art together, actually. And I think she did a brilliant work for us. This was also an exhibition that was quite impressive by Rotor. It was last year for the new location opening in Beirut. We had also a parenthesis for the biennial in Belgium, Courtrai, last month, showing them. Rotor is also a perfect example of what we can say is between art and design in a way. They exhibit materials or specimens who are speaking in a way to their history or their concept or their political meaning. And that exhibition was the first time actually that after the Venice Biennale, where they were exhibited and the Fondazione Prada, they were showed in a private gallery. And it was also something that was interesting to bring for the first time many art collectors who were coming for the opening of the IHT Foundation in Beirut, and many of them were impressed by the show, and we are now discussing with the Met in New York to bring the exhibition there very soon. These are other works of Karen Chekerjan that we had in Basel. Here are other works where we basically blend two cultures. For example, these are falcon stands that we presented in Dubai, done by an Italian designer called Massimo Faion. We invited him to revisit the tradition of falconry. So he created special stands where actually another way to display birds, which is an object that was never really explored in a way before that time. And here, and also another interesting project, cross-cultural one more time, where we sent two young Lebanese designers to South Africa in Cape Town, where they produced in bronze, let's say, a reinterpretation of the fertility dolls who are becoming more toteming object. And these were also selected by the Armory Show for special exhibitions we had last year. And another exhibition was Déchaînement from Vincenzo De Cotis, who's also an Italian architect who came to Beirut and created a full collection of objects inspired and unique pieces, all inspired by the materiality and the urban tissue, let's say, of Beirut. Here, the Arab dolls, also another very strong project from Carlo Massoud, which are the various veils that you can find within the Islam that this Lebanese designer decided to explore about the idea of functionality and to bring it to another scale. And it was a reflection about the whole society and how an envelope can become something conceptual and functional at the same time. Also quite published project. This is also another link to Turkey, the project we did with India Mahdavi. India is an Egyptian-Iranian designer, but we created this special collection with the Iznik Foundation here in Turkey, where they produced the vases and the tiles, actually part of this collection in Iznik. That was presented in Basel in 2013. Here also another cross-cultural exchange, the Musharabiye, was reinterpreted by Mischa and Traxler, an Austrian duo who did this very special work of mixing, let's say, the tradition and their way about all the production process, let's say, of the thing. They were all unique pieces, actually. So, yeah, these are a few publications, and I think for the presentation, this is it. Let's about the gallery and what we do.
Let's let, because unfortunately our time's limited. I'd like to see Tamir's presentation, and then maybe we can have a little bit to talk about just concepts in a collectible design. Thank you. He's really done an amazing job with collectible design in the Middle East, and he's to be commended. He's really taken it to a conceptual level, to an artistic level. When people think about design, they tend to think about mass production. And when you're talking about art and design, it's usually limited editions or one piece, very much like the art that you see here, but it's functional objects.
Well,
Tamir?
Speaking of, does this work? Yeah. Speaking of functional objects, I've explored a very, let's say, a wide area of design that started with my, let's say, education that is on industrial design, and until I met actually Nicola, I was more into mass production, and collectible design term was really something also new for us, and but at the end I kind of started a new dynamics in my work. So I'm gonna start from my last kind of pieces, which is a cube. Would you hold it with me? Well, okay. Well, what I'm trying to do actually, as being a designer, I see that as a designer, the role of the designer is in this age is not just to make some things that's functional or that is beautiful, but it is more to inspire people to see things differently and to make things differently. So at the end, it came down to something as simple as this cube, which doesn't fit our reality. So it just kind of creates these. These images are taken in Dubai, in Sharjah Desert, and I'm just starting from here because to be here because I have these objects that I have like a kaleidoscopic object and these cubes, which just lets you look at the world differently. But to just go to a desert and to place these objects on the desert was really surprising for us. And it turned out to this photo shoot that we weren't actually planning, because it was like a blank space that nothing was designed, and it's just like you can just put something in the space. And I call this project Future is Blank, which means everything's possible. I start from here, and like you can see the cube in different places. None of these, like, let's say, images are computer like generated, but it is basically some things that that really makes you look at things differently, and you just or you can just go out in the street and you look at this wall that you pass by every day, and then when you have a cube in your hand, you just realize that this wall actually has this pattern that you can put a cube on, and then once you put it, people step in, and then people start to do different shapes with it. So that was
how this cube, it's like it's just this little red square, but you put it in a space and the space changes. And I think it shows the power of design and just how form and color can absolutely transform a space.
Well, I mean, it is really something personal also, like for the people that I just give this to. They go around in Istanbul, let's say they've been living in Istanbul for a while, so they don't see the city as they really do. Normally, and once they have that, they look at things different, and they just like try to find like scenarios, and that, like you said, it changes the whole perception and perspective, so you really see things. I mean, let me just make this example. I mean, just once you imagine you come into this room and there's a cube here, you just start to look at this place, and you start to look at these pieces, because before that, our consciousness is just, you just go into the room, you see, okay, there are walls, there are chairs, there's this, but you don't actually see everything. But once you do that, it really changes your perspective. But this is just, let's say, the example of, and like a refined form of it. And when it comes to products, this is from Güzel magazine. It was chosen as best in show in ICFF New York Design Week. These are my tableware collections. And the idea is actually quite the same here, because it is the same place, as you can see. I'm sorry, can I stop this from going like this? But I mean, no, I mean, is there like a pause button? Well, I mean, sorry for the, oh, sorry, that's not. Sorry if it's kind of like too many images for you. So let's say a normal designer, like usually when you design a plate, and a general approach would be just to look at it as a plate, so you just present it to your guests, so the design should be inside, or like, let's say around it. But in the approach that I have, your interaction with everything starts when you first see it. So that is when you open your cupboard, or when you just go there to take a plate. And whatever design you do, it's always like this, like the plates, It just looks like a restaurant. It just looks like not exciting. So I tried to change this thing, and then to give people a new perspective every day. So the way you stack them together actually changes the way you see those plates every day. And it actually magically makes people more conscious about it, and you really see the plates. Every place you see, or you just take them from the dishwasher, you put it there, and once you put it, you start to play with it, like subconsciously. So that's kind of the thing that I'm trying to do, to like open up people's perspective. And I call this approach a little bit like undesigned, because people really like to get into the design, like once they...
So it becomes a sculpture in a sense, when you stack the plates.
I mean, I'm just trying to get, like, try to create like open-ended designs where people can put their ideas, because once they see it, once they see a cube, they say, oh, I have an idea. Or once they see that kaleidoscope, oh, let's try this and that. And for me as a designer, I mean, it's a new term of, I don't want to say designers, artists, or like those tags, but to inspire people to create things. This is an example of wall tile project that I did for Kale, the bathroom company. We won IF Awards, Red Dot Awards. This is Cube and Dot collection. And this was the approach before I found the cube, let's say. But this is the whole idea going through that. You give people choice of tiles, so people can really choose between, and then they make their own things. And once they do, they make that wall themselves. They have a say in it. So every time they see, they look at differently in that sense. So I'm just going to go a bit like more quickly from that. this idea goes from that to installations to more like collaborations with these hats that I do. It's the same idea actually. I mean, it's a nice hat, but if you have the same hat every day, then you don't see the hat as it is, you know. So I give the idea, I mean, the possibility for people to change and like rearrange the hats. So they always have an idea of how to put this. So I'm really trying to get the design onto the point and then leave it to the people. And my explorations also went to glass. And I mean, I say undesigned because like these pieces are like purely results of just experimentations with glass. So this is called gravity. We just poured the hot molten glass on some fence that we found from this hardware store, and there it created this thing. But if I was to design a hat, or if I was to design this, also the same story with the hats. I mean, I was sent to Poland for Istanbul Design Biennale and to explore what can we do with the hat factory, what can we do. And then I didn't want to design an object, so I made just forms. So once we went there to the, yeah, that's okay. Once I went to the once we displayed the products in the Biennale, my friends were like, we saw your hats, they're amazing. I have like a long ones and everything. But I wasn't intending to make hats, I was just making forms. But then people also came with the idea they could be really hats, and I tried it on, and it just turned into that. So,
like coming back to I don't know, collectible design,
yeah,
and especially in Turkey, like how are your feelings about that for the future?
I think if we do you have your project of the rock?
yeah, I'm just going through
It'd be
the.
a good starting point, Susan, because
This is a project he did for the nude glass.
This actually we have on display here. This was displayed during Art Basel, Hong Kong. This is glass film with just candles behind, and this is a project that actually we have with Istanbul Design Biennale right now. It's in Adres, Istanbul, and that's like a giant kiosk that you can go inside and make whatever you want to do with it. But once we go back to how it shaped this approach from industrial design to more collectible was our story with Carwan. And how I was included was that we had a mutual friend, we were also friends, and I heard that they were looking for someone who was between art and design. And they asked me, like, do you know anybody? So I was just thinking, I wasn't thinking about myself. And then I just thought of some names, and then my friend was like, why don't you try to do it? And at that time, I was really just, whatever I do is produced in mass, and it's like, for me, like art design, it was 2011, I guess. So they said, okay, just give it a try. You know, I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And then I really started to enjoy it because that's the collection. It's called Light and Shade. It plays with the idea of just this natural light and the light that comes through like Musharabia. And I tried to bring that very simply, this idea, this like undesigned, this like really not defined shape, to a collection where it's like one represents the light, which has a few thousand stainless steel mirrors in it, with the one on the left. It's like a laser cut rug. But like I said, the whole inspiration comes from that. And the other one is Shade, which is, this is in Villa Noailles, as he mentioned. This is in Rugs Parade. And we just created this rug that is kind of like a shadow that doesn't have any shape, but the background actually comes from really like intricate work. And as you look closely, you know, it just, I think, represents a great start for me as a designer to look at the field differently, how let's say, collectible design means, and then since that I've been exploring the idea, and it's always great to have Nicola here. Oh, we have that.
A few years ago, Susan, when we met for the first time, we had this
Right.
discussion about what is collectible design, and especially here in Turkey. And I think most of the collectors in Turkey who already collect something in the design field is probably rugs or carpets in a way. So I think this project was interesting to start the discussion about collecting design and to create something in pieces who are unique in a way. And also going more culturally inside what you can find already in the collecting culture in Turkey in a way.
Do you think you say in the collecting culture, how about also in the production culture? Is this as well, or?
Yes, but Yes and no, because of course we have a huge industrial design scene also in Turkey, producing like so many homewares and furniture for Europe and all over the world. But let's say, I would say, if like a Turkish family has to be proud of something, it's generally rugs coming from generations, and they always look for new rug. It's something that is a very Ottoman tradition in a way, that was also translated in many countries of the Middle East because of the nomadic culture, maybe also of other countries of the Middle East also. It was something that was always the idea of like sitting a bit lower on the floor. There were not really furniture back in the days. So maybe it's an idea of like how this culture of collecting in a way translated to today. And I think it's a starting point for me to start with the rug and in this approach to come really in this culture of the rug.
How do you think, I mean, you've traveled a lot around the world, you've visited many fairs, and how do you think Turkey can develop this platform? It's really a different platform for showing collectible design.
Well, from my point of view, definitely Turkey is an emerging market for collecting design, but just like was Lebanon maybe 5-6 years ago when we opened a gallery. I think it's a question of education in a way, because sometimes when you don't have access to what is collectible design and you don't understand what it is neither, it's difficult to make the link and to bridge what is a special piece of design. For me, if you're an art collector, and I think you have many great art collectors as well in Turkey now, if you think of all of the foundation, the Sabancı and all of them, I think there is a collecting culture for art, which is modern or contemporary, but for design it's not here yet totally. So, but if you think of examples of probably Americans are the most innovative in this at the moment. If you go to the house of a collector in New York now, it's not only what is hanging on the walls, but it's also about his own culture about objects, which only relates every day to say, okay, I have this very special table that, for example, Pier Giorgio did for me in his atelier in Italy. And that's a unique piece, and that's something that represents a very collectible, it's a collectible value because the piece is unique. It represents an expression and a certain a moment of the history of contemporary design when this is being produced, just like contemporary art is in a way. And this culture is not always easy to understand when it's all totally new, but you need to understand that if you have an amazing collection of contemporary art, it's a bit disappointing if you put IKEA chairs and furniture to surround it. I think your taste as a collector has to go through many filters in a way, and it's all about when you receive or when, and it's the place where you live. It's also all about your own culture and how you relate to your own collection in a way.
I think people too, is objects that they use are looking for something more innovative. They want something unique to themselves that they don't see everywhere in every magazine or every, so I think that's also fueling as the internet brings us all together and we become more and more similar. It's nice to have some differences, and I think that has a value. And I apologize that Pier Giorgio couldn't join us. He's coming. Okay. He is a functional artist. He calls himself a functional artist from Torino, Italy, and he works very, I can say, eclectic way. You can't tell a particular style that he has, but he has really pursued his career as design as art, and he's shown in the Pompidou Center and in many places. But I don't know, hopefully he has time. In terms, Tamer, what do you think about collectible design in Turkey? What do we need to do here to build on this?
Since I started design, and the reason I got into design is to explore more, and in a way I see design as, bringing something from the future. That's the old saying, for me. But like I said, our introduction and your theme was contemporary perspective in the Middle Eastern crafts. So at that project, and it's really, I think, something that you have just like a unique thing here, is that, I personally felt that as I'm trying to explore the future, I've felt a point that I'm actually touching the past. Like if you really think about the future, then you come to this like a utopic thing, then that leaves you without this world that we set up for ourselves. So that leaves you back to the human that you are. And at that point, I mean, what I'm trying to say, we might be designing those carpets here in the computer to make something really like futuristic looking, but once you go down to the workshop, once you get like 10 ladies doing those things by hand, you really realize this is something that's been done for thousands of years, maybe like this technique of doing that. So, but you're creating something that is like coming from space, but it's really handmade, and it's tied to really like a tradition. So at that point, I think for me, whatever you do, it's not about exploring. I mean, there's technology, there's everything that you can put inside, but I think the real this real like valuable connection is the one that we have with our like ancient past in a way. So that I see in Nicolas' work there. I mean, like Carbon Gallery's work that I'm really proud to be a part of, and because in every piece you see something new, something like striking that, but at the same time it is not really something completely different from like all these techniques, all these like materials, details are really coming together. So also as a designer, I can say for collectible design, it makes the projects more special in a way, because you do industrial design and you go through processes and you have to.
But I think in Turkey it's hard. You don't really have a platform yet.
Yeah.
Some of the biennales, some of the design weeks, you can show this, but I don't think it's been presented in a platform or a way for people to really understand.
This is the first time actually that we're having it here in contemporary Istanbul.
They don't seem to work. I think everybody
Well,
can
okay,
hear us.
yeah, everyone can hear. So, like you said, there are not many platforms, but I think we're just becoming, I mean, it doesn't really matter just like geographically, as I'm trying to do, as he's trying to do, as he's like working with like ISNIC Foundation. So I think, I mean, it is a kind of like a matter of time, and through internet, like you said, this exposure, I think we're coming to an area that it is, more special objects with stories and more special ways through like people when they use it at their homes, not something like mass manufactured like before.
But I think the platform is missing definitely in Istanbul. When I take the Beirut example, for example, when we started, there was not so much interest about collectible design in Lebanon, and our international exposure inspired so many Lebanese designers and even galleries also after us, there are 2-3 more galleries that have opened. And the whole scene changed totally because they discovered that you can be successful internationally through contemporary design, and everybody was excited to prepare new projects and to submit to be presented in Miami or in Basel and to be involved in this global scene. And this whole boom generated so many designers opened their own practice afterwards, doing self-production, who are more towards the artistic approach of producing objects. And now when you walk in Beirut, you have at least 25 design studios who are very active and producing objects, and they're spread in many galleries all over the world now.
I've been very impressed with my visits. I've done 2 design fairs in Beirut, and very impressed with the energy and what's happening there. And I think maybe also having some backup from museums and institutions that help to educate about collectible design, it's helpful. And I had mentioned earlier when we were talking that even in America, I mean, people think America's so big, it's so, it has everything, whatever. Until Design Miami, this was unexplored territory, fairly unexplored territory in America, and this has really brought this genre of art to the forefront in America as well. So I'm hoping in Turkey, we can start this, maybe see some of the designers working more in this manner, and some of the galleries taking on the role of supporting some of these designers who work in this way, and maybe curating some new projects with the designers.
But definitely you need in Istanbul a prominent gallery or space that would promote contemporary collectible design, for sure, to inspire the local scene, as well as a few institutions. But you already have the biennial in terms of institution, and then Yeah, also various, like probably centers would be interested to showcase design. The Savanti Museum had also the Jamil Prize a few years ago, and I think there's already a culture in a way. It just needs to be a bit more structured, maybe and organized. And I think
We have all these techniques. We have all this like from the Ottoman time, you know, or like even before. These like lands really have a lot. And like
craftsman
people are coming
techniques.
to Turkey, coming to these lands to explore what can be done with it. And I think, if we have a platform, it also makes it more, I guess, in a way, more easy for designers to just put themselves out there. Because I mean, before, let's say, like an industrial design area, I mean, you have a few companies where you have a few brands that you know for sure that you design something, it's just out there, but it goes through a lot of periods. It takes maybe 2 years, you know. But here, you have an idea. If you do it well, if you have the place to present it well, like we say here, and that's why this what we're doing here is very like valuable. Then it's really like you're just out there, you know, you have this exposure and you have the idea, and it's just a matter of let's say originality of your idea and like how you produce it. But it's much easier than going to a company and then like doing
Yeah,
design.
and it's much
So,
more
which
a
didn't work in
personal
Turkey,
expression
like, honestly, like,
for a
that's
designer,
really-
which they don't get to do much.
I mean, industrial design in Turkey, like to speak honestly, hasn't been you know that like successful. Maybe it is more successful in terms of producing things, like fixing things, and like there are things in detail. We do that well, but when it comes to the soul that you present, it is really difficult to find the right client and to get the right project. And once you get it out there, it still carries that soul. But with, like collectible design gives you have an idea, you have the platform, you just work 1 month and then you do it, and it's out there, and it's really like changing the world. You can really change the world once you have the platforms, and it creates more dynamics.
Thank you so much. I mean, we could talk about this probably another hour or two because it's a very interesting subject. I apologize. I think Pierre Giorgio is in the building, but I guess with the time got confused. Perhaps afterwards, if you have any questions or would like to meet, do we have time for questions or?
I think Pierre Giorgio is there. there.
Okay, yeah. No,
No,
that's not him. Looks like him.
I don't have my lenses, sorry.
Any questions? We can take 2 questions.
He's looking for them. Look.
Does anybody have questions about collectible design or the situation in Turkey? Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.